What could make tens of thousands gather at Jerusalem's western wall and weep uncontrollably? What discovery in northern Israel has archaeologists cataloging symbols that match prophecies written 3,000 years ago? And why is the tribe of Dan, one of Israel's 12 tribes, completely missing from the book of Revelation's list of the sealed? 3 questions with 1 answer. A pattern is repeating. The same deception that began in a garden is preparing for its final act. And the stage is already set in the one city that matters most, northern Israel, the hills where the tribe of Dan once lived. Archaeologists brush dust from stones that haven't seen sunlight in 3 millennia. What emerges makes them pause. Bronze figures, coiled like serpents, stone altars with spiraling patterns, carvings that twist inward like something alive. They label them as Canaanite art, ancient superstition, cultural artifacts. But there's another way to read these stones. When Jacob blessed his 12 sons before dying, his words over Dan broke the pattern. No strength like Judah, no fruitfulness like Joseph. Instead, Dan will be a serpent by the roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heels. Not a lion, not a lamb, a serpent. For 3,000 years, the prophecy seemed symbolic, poetic language about a tribe's character. But now those serpents are rising from the ground where Dan built his altars. Bronze coils catching sunlight, stone patterns spiraling like the creature Jacob named. The serpent's first appearance wasn't in Dan, it was in Eden. "You will not surely die," it whispered to Eve. "God knows that when you eat, your eyes will be opened. You'll be like God." Notice what it didn't do. It didn't curse God, didn't deny his existence. It simply twisted his words just enough to make rebellion sound like enlightenment. That's the pattern. The serpent doesn't destroy the sacred, it imitates it. Fast forward to the wilderness. Israel rebels, and God sends venomous serpents as judgment. People die from their bites. Then God gives Moses a strange solution. Make a bronze serpent, put it on a pole, and everyone who looks at it will live. Death's image becomes the channel for healing. Judgment transforms into mercy. But here's where it gets complicated. Centuries pass. That same bronze serpent gets dragged from encampment to temple, and Israel starts worshiping it, burning incense to it, treating the symbol like the Savior, until King Hezekiah finally smashed it to pieces. The lesson? What starts as a sign from God can become a substitute for God. Now watch that pattern show up in Dan. The tribe receives land in central Israel near the coast. Good territory, God's gift. But they abandon it. The book of Judges tells the story. They march north, conquer a peaceful city called Laish, rename it Dan, and set up their own worship system. But they don't reject God outright. They create a copy, build a sanctuary that mirrors Jerusalem's design. Same dimensions, same altar layout, same sacrificial system, except it's in the wrong place, led by the wrong priests, pointed in the wrong direction. The archaeology confirms it. At Tel Dan, excavators found the sanctuary's foundation. They uncovered small metal figures blending 2 symbols, the bull and the serpent, strength and cunning, power and deception. Dan didn't forget God. They remembered him wrong, created worship that looked authentic but led away from the truth, built altars that resembled the holy but housed the counterfeit. Look at medical institutions worldwide today. There it is, a serpent wrapped around a staff, the rod of Asclepius, universal symbol of healing. Most trace it to Greek mythology, but its roots go deeper, back to Numbers chapter 21, back to Moses lifting that bronze serpent in the wilderness. What began as God's mercy became man's idol. What Hezekiah destroyed in bronze has returned in concept. Humanity no longer bows to metal serpents. We bow to the idea behind them. Knowledge as salvation. Enlightenment through self-reliance. Progress as redemption. The serpent hasn't vanished. It evolved. From bronze to belief. From image to ideology. From altars in Dan to systems that span the globe. And it still whispers the same promise it offered Eve. You will be like God. Open Revelation chapter 7. John lists the 12 tribes of Israel, sealed and protected for what's coming: Judah, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh, Simeon, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, Benjamin. Count them, 12 tribes listed, but one name is missing: Dan. The early church fathers saw something others missed. Irenaeus wrote, "The Antichrist shall spring from the tribe of Dan." They weren't guessing. They were connecting patterns. Jacob called Dan a serpent. Dan built counterfeit altars. Dan created imitation worship that looked authentic but led astray. And now Revelation erases Dan's name from the list of the redeemed. Not an accident. A warning. Because Jesus himself described how the deception would work. "I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive." Another, not an outsider. Someone who comes in his own name, but with Israel's symbols. Someone who mirrors the Messiah so perfectly that even the chosen might be fooled. Daniel's prophecy fills in the details. He will confirm a covenant with many for 7 years. Not force it. Confirm it. Diplomacy, not domination. A peace agreement that looks like answered prayer. A treaty that makes rebuilding the temple possible. A leader who brings what Israel has waited centuries to see, until the middle of those 7 years. He will put an end to sacrifice and offering, and he will set up an abomination that causes desolation. The mask falls. The peacemaker demands worship. The protector becomes the desecrator. What happened at the wall, October 2024, the Feast of Sukkot, Jerusalem's western wall. Dawn hasn't fully broken when the sound begins. The shofar cuts through the cool morning air. Not just one. Dozens. Their blasts echo off stone that stood for 2,000 years. Then the voices rise. 50,000 people, maybe more, pressed against the plaza, hands reaching toward the wall, prayers lifting like smoke. Over 500 Kohanim step forward. Descendants of Aaron, verified through genealogy and genetic testing. They're dressed in white linen, hands raised, fingers forming the Hebrew letter Shin, the sign of Shaddai, the Almighty. "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and give you peace." The priestly blessing, the same words given to Moses, silent for nearly 2 millennia in this place, now spoken again. Some in the crowd drop to their knees. Others press their foreheads to the stones, shoulders shaking. A tour guide from Tel Aviv later said he's brought thousands to the wall over 20 years. This was different. People weren't just touching the stones. Something was touching them. Then, witnesses report seeing it. A soft golden light hovering above the Temple Mount. Brief, maybe 5 seconds. Then, gone. While the world stayed distracted, something happened in the one place that matters most. The sequence of signs. Because this isn't the first sign, it's the latest in a sequence. In 1948, Israel became a nation in one day. Isaiah chapter 66 verse 8 asked the question 2,700 years earlier. Can a country be born in a day? On May 14th, the answer came. In 1967, the Six-Day War ended with Israeli soldiers at the Western Wall. Young men, barely 20, dropped their weapons and wept. "The Temple Mount is in our hands," they radioed. First time in 1,897 years. Jesus described it as a fig tree budding. When you see the branch become tender and put out leaves, you know summer is near. The branch appeared in 1948. The leaves in 1967. Now something else is happening. Not political. Spiritual. Behind the scenes, preparations accelerate. The Temple Institute has the vessels ready. Golden menorah. Altar of incense. Priestly garments woven to Exodus specifications. They've trained Levites in sacrificial procedures, documented bloodlines, built everything needed for temple service, except for the building itself. In the Negev desert, 5 red heifers graze under constant watch. Unblemished. Required for purification before temple worship can resume. By 2026, they reach the right age for sacrifice. Everything is ready. The priesthood, the implements, the animals. All that's missing is the moment. And if what happened at the wall means anything, that moment might be closer than we think. The stones in Dan are speaking. The priests in Jerusalem are preparing. The pattern is complete. The serpent that started in Eden, rose in Dan, and scattered through nations is circling back to where it always intended to end. At the altar, in the temple, in the city where heaven touches earth. The next time that the shofar sounds at the western wall, will it announce the beginning of restoration, or the final deception? The answer lies not in speculation, but in discernment. In recognizing that the same pattern that deceived Eve, corrupted Dan, and has repeated throughout history, is preparing for one last performance. And the stage is set.